Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my Monday night Facebook and YouTube live. Really glad that you are here and that you are joining me. And tonight, I'm drinking a delicious cup of green jasmine tea, which is so delicious and so warming and soothing. So I'm loving that. And we are going to be talking about nutrition, which is what I love to nerd out about and talk about, being a board-certified nutritionist. But we're going to be talking about nutrition specifically and lifestyle. Hi, Luann. Hi, Janet. Hi, Cheryl. Oh my gosh, Cheryl, I hope you're okay. I've been saying my prayers for you. We're going to be talking about nutrition and lifestyle as it relates to specifically breast cancer prevention. As we know, October is the sort of breast cancer prevention month, and we're almost at the end. So I wanted to get in at least one live stream to really address this really important topic from a sort of nutritional and lifestyle perspective, because it really can make a huge difference. So the information that I'm going to give you tonight, please share with your friends and your family and your loved ones, because you know, in the years since I've been a nutritionist, and as the years go by, I study deeper and deeper and deeper into this field, you know, forever keeping on my toes, looking at all the different changing landscape and evidence and studies and everything that comes out new, you know, sometimes monthly and certainly annually. It always serves to underscore the power of nutrition, and that you can change so many things by way of nutrition. It's powerful. Food really truly is our medicine. Or put differently, our lifestyle, I was just going to say our food, but actually our lifestyle can heal us. It can harm us or it can heal us. So what we're going to be talking tonight about is how it can heal you. But really, I want to talk about prevention, because let's look at doing what we can to keep us out of harm's way in the first place. Hi, Kathy. Oh, my gosh. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Leah. So we got Cheryl. Leah is a total regular, both on YouTube and Facebook. Cheryl is a graduate from my program, my coaching program, as is Carrie. And I love to see you ladies on, just hanging out here on a Monday night. So good to see you. And oh, by the way, so if anybody wants to, you know, hear more about my program, my, you know, philosophy, my overall philosophy when it comes to food, eating, weight loss, changing your life, if you are stuck on that particular journey and you really feel you need a helping hand, you can watch the best thing you can do, oh, here comes sunshine, is to watch my free masterclass. And if Catherine happens to be around, it'd be amazing, Catherine, if you could just pop that in the chat and have a look at that. Because if you've just chanced upon me, or it's the first time and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more about this, or I speak to women who are 45 plus for the most part, sometimes 40 plus, but all of us are getting to that age group where suddenly preventative health care becomes very real. This is the time where we really want to start honing in and focusing on the lifestyle changes that we can make, you know, to prevent disease where possible and to really live our best life so that we can feel we're in the best possible shape we can be in, our skin is glowing, we're our ideal weight, and all these things just fold into sort of living your best life. So I'll see. I don't know if Catherine. Oh, great. Catherine. Thank you so much for that. Hello, Jill. Oh, Susan had mammogram Friday. Well done. That's absolutely wonderful. Wonderful news. And of course, you know, we all have to, this is a good month for us just being aware of, you know, getting all of our testing done and all of that. So here's the thing. As far as disease is concerned, obviously we can't absolutely guarantee that we can prevent, you know, whatever said disease is. But what we can do, and if you've heard me saying this once, you'll hear me saying it so many times because I passionately believe in it. What we can do is we can stack the cards in our favor. And given the fact that I think the figures sort of vacillate between 70 and 80%, they say, of chronic diseases can be prevented by lifestyle changes. I think this is powerful, powerful stuff. And so it behooves all of us to really do everything that we can. I don't know whether my in-laws are on, because very often, because sometimes I can't see your name, it just says Facebook user. But if they are, my lovely in-laws, Bobby and Joe, who live in Georgia, Dublin, Georgia. Hello, if you're on, I love you, and I miss you so much. But Bobby and Joe are a great, great example of lifestyle changes that they have been practicing for many, many years now, that have made a huge difference. So my father-in-law, Joe, is 90. I hope I'm getting this right, but I'm pretty sure 93 years old, and Joe is in good health, and he is diabetic as well. And so, you know, he and Bobby practice so many of these lifestyle changes and have been doing for the last probably, 30, 40 years, you know, in terms of exercising, keeping really fit and keeping healthy and eating off the land. Joe has an amazing garden that he still gardens in 93. I spoke to them this weekend, and they have their last crop of tomatoes still coming up. So he's out there and harvesting those tomatoes and doing that work. And so, you know, I want to really give you, Bobby and Joe, a huge shout out. A, because I miss you. B, because I love you more than you can ever know. And C, because I'm so inspired by the way that you live, and that you are both of you so fit and healthy. So that's absolutely beautiful. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Linda. All right. Thank you, Deb. All right. So let's get into this. Now, I am going to give you I want to jump in and give you some actual tips. I want to give you some actual takeaway tonight. The takeaway that I want to give you tonight, and this, as I said, specifically relates to breast cancer prevention. So this is the best available research that we have to date in the field of nutrition, in what will help you, best practices to put yourself in the best possible case to prevent either getting breast cancer or recurrence of breast cancer. And I know there are many ladies in my community who are thriving, not just surviving, but thriving from having been through that experience. So, you know, a lot of you ladies I know are already doing this, because I've been banging on about these tips and this lifestyle for years now. But for those of you who are new, and those of you who have just chanced upon this live stream, you know, my intention this evening is to give you some information, to arm you with some information that I think will be really, really useful for you. So, Linda, let's just see, Laura we have on, Denise, Hope, Hope, I am so sorry about that. You know, Hope, I am going to, and I'm going to put a little note here on my paper, and I'm going to address questions in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to take questions and open up for questions, because otherwise I get a little bit distracted. And tonight is one of those live streams where I really want to try and stay on topic, so I give you as much takeaway. But I did hear your question, and so that is one that I've just written down, and I will address that when we get to questions. So stay on, that will be in about 10 or 15 minutes, okay? And that is true for everybody. I'll open up to questions when we get to that. Comments and questions. Hi, Darla. Hi, Anne. Hi, Chloe. Oh, Chloe, well, you're gonna really like this then. So if you've had breast cancer, if anyone in your family, you know, then this is, you may know this information, so it'll just serve to kind of consolidate what you already know. All right, so let's talk about nutrition first. So it's really, whenever I talk about anything to do with health and weight loss, I want to really be sure that that I make clear that my approach is holistic. And what I mean by holistic is it's not just one thing. It never is just one thing. So it's never just diet. It's never just exercise. It's never just mindset. It's never just hormone balance and health. It is everything. So we have to take all those different things into account, because everything plays a part in your health, obviously. And health, as far as I'm concerned, is both mental, physical, and spiritual. Putting ourselves into balance in all those areas, and that is absolutely what I work on in a very sort of intense and targeted way with women who I work with in a coaching capacity. And you know that Cheryl and Kerry, who are on now, and actually Kerry is a breast cancer survivor too, and Kerry did did my coaching program, and I'm so incredibly glad that she did. So Kerry, I don't know whether you want to shout out anything to do with that as it relates to your journey. Okay, so I'm just going to take a sip of my tea. So let's dive into nutrition first. So you may want to write this down, grab a pen. So the first thing is green tea. So green tea has found to be really helpful. Now, the information that I'm giving you is drawn from, as I said, evidence-based nutrition, evidence-based science from some of the sort of top experts in the field of preventing, breast cancer prevention, such as Dr. Christy Funk, and who is, from the Pink Lotus Foundation in Los Angeles, Dr. Michael Greger, many of the doctors that many of you know are my mentors. So it's really sort of collating these pieces to bring it together for you. Oh, that's wonderful, Christine. How wonderful. Good for you, my love. All right, so green tea. So fall in love with green tea, because green tea does have evidence behind it. And this actually looks brown here, but it is actually a green tea because it's jasmine tea. So there's a lot of evidence behind green tea. So I recommend that you can drink 3 to 4 cups of green tea a day. Now, if you absolutely don't like green tea, or it's, for some reason you just cannot drink green tea, there are other teas that you can drink that have a high polyphenol content, such as there's rooibos tea, which is an African red bush tea, which is non-caffeinated and it's absolutely delicious. It's spelled ROOIBOS. If anybody is a tea nerd like me, I know I have a few who are in my community, you can maybe spell that, because I don't want to get distracted doing that in the live stream. But green tea in particular is really great. So green tea is high in a lot of different compounds that are going to be wonderful for disease prevention, and in this case, breast cancer prevention. And the sort of umbrella term for those would be polyphenols, which are these very specific antioxidants. Now, with your green tea, you want your tea to be organic if possible. And you've heard me say it before, but there's green tea and green tea. I really like loose leaf tea where possible. It generally, not always, but generally is a little higher in quality. So tea makers will use the higher quality leaves in the loose tea. And generally speaking, this isn't always the case, but slightly lower quality leaves, sometimes known as tea dust, in tea bags. So if you want to start falling in love with green tea, then I do recommend that you go for an organic brand, and you go for a brand that you try loose leaf tea. And also the other thing is, oh gosh, that is Serene. That is so beautiful. The tea, the Peak. Catherine, if you happen to be still on, I'm sure poor Catherine is probably gone, but if you are on, we'll put that link in for Peak tea. It's their matcha tea. It's called their ceremonial sun goddess matcha tea. It's very good. It's expensive, but it really, really is worth it as a treat, because if you just use one, I always say with tea, expensive teas, think of price per cup. and think of if you went to the coffee shop and you got one of those big coffee drinks, how much that would cost. And then you compare that to something like a really high quality, expensive tea, like a peak tea, then it sort of breaks down that it's not so crazy expensive. So that is just one thing to think about. And that is, quadruple tested, I think, the peak one for what am I trying to say here? For purity. So that's a really important one. Hey, Stephanie, thank you for your lovely, lovely gift, Stephanie. I just got that in the mail. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Okay, Pam, right now she's drinking a cup of organic green tea. Beautiful. And Moroccan. Oh, and Moroccan mint. How lovely. All right, so green tea. Now, some people, if you really don't like green tea and you don't like drinking hot green tea, you can pop some green tea in your smoothie. Instead of water, you could have sort of chilled green tea and pop that in your smoothie. So there's a little tip as well. You could even put a tiny bit of matcha tea in your smoothie, but actually bear in mind that matcha does have caffeine in it. Tea also has theanine in it, so it's not the same kind of caffeine jolt that a tea will have. That coffee will have. It's much more low key. It's kind of, it's a funny thing because even caffeinated tea can be lifting and energizing as well as soothing, which is why I made the switch from coffee to tea many years ago. I just didn't like that coffee jolt that I got from, there's almost like that jittery feeling. And I really didn't like the effect it had on my adrenal glands. So if you're somebody that thinks you might have fatigued adrenal glands, if you think your cortisol levels are a little bit off, and very often a symptom of your cortisol levels being off is gaining fat around your midsection, is belly fat. So then you really might want to consider among other things, cutting off coffee. I actually, in my masterclass, I cover a very specific, I go a little bit more into why you may be having trouble with that stubborn belly fat, which so many women, certainly after the age of 45 do. And so I go into that in a little more detail in my masterclass. So please make sure you watch that. Okay. So the next thing, let's talk about lignans. So first off, write down number 1, tea, green tea. If you absolutely cannot and don't like green tea, then go for a tea that has a very high polyphenol antioxidant concentration, such as rooibos. It's from a completely different plant, by the way. So green tea, black tea, oolong tea, white tea, all comes from the same plant, which is Camellia sinensis plant. It's just the way it's picked, oxidized, steamed and whatnot that gives it the different color and whatnot. But if you wanted to go for something that's not caffeinated, not that particular plant, you could go for the African red bush plant. It comes from South Africa, called rooibos. It has a delicious taste. It's how could I describe the taste? If anybody likes rooibos tea, get in the chat and describe what it tastes like. But it's a very soothing, it's almost impossible for me to, I'm sure somebody will have a good way of describing it. For me, it's a very soothing, comforting tea. And as I said, it's decaffeinated. It's sort of reddish brown in color. And you can add a little bit of plant milk. You could add a little bit of soy milk, a little bit of any kind of plant milk. So number 2, we're going to actually talk about soy. And we're going to hit soy head on right at the get-go right now. Because soy is one of the most misunderstood foods when it comes to hormonal health and indeed breast cancer and breast cancer prevention. So many women erroneously believe or mistakenly believe that they have to avoid soy in order to, when it comes to breast cancer, because there's a confusion because it has something called a phytoestrogen in it, right? Not estrogen, but a phytoestrogen. Now, if many breast cancers, as many of you know, have either heard or actually experienced, if you had breast cancer, are hormone related, and so that's when the confusion can really come in, and one thinks of, oh my gosh, and many doctors believe this to be the case who don't specialize in breast cancer prevention, such as Dr. Christy Funk. So they might even say, oh no, you have to avoid soy. And what I'm talking about here, by the way, is organic soy. And I'll just go into a little bit more detail about that. It really needs to be organic. But it has been found, and evidence-based science and evidence-based nutrition has now discovered that soy can actually be protective, and it can help to prevent. And it's fascinating. There are so many studies on this, so much so that Dr. Christy Funk now, that is part of her protocol, that she will recommend. Her sort of nutritional protocol is to have a little bit of soy in your diet every single day. Now, because you see, phytoestrogens can actually block free floating too much estradiol, too much estrogen in your bloodstream, and so it's easy to understand why and how that information has sort of taken a left turn and been misconstrued. But I encourage you to dive in, and if anybody would like any actual studies of the evidence-based science, because I know it's a really hot button topic, and it can be very frightening as well for you if you have had breast cancer. Then just put in the comments here and say, Sophie, yes, evidence, please, and I'm happy to supply you with some of that evidence, or pop you in the direction of an article that myself or somebody else has written, so you can go into that a little bit deeper. Okay. Oh, that's great, Lorene. I love that. I love it. It's funny, actually, because soy milk is also a much maligned thing, a drink, so much so that here in Los Angeles, you go to almost any, it's beginning to change a little bit now, but you go to almost any health food restaurant or juice bar or I don't know, place that does green teas or whatever. And I go, they go, what milk do you want? And I go, what have you got? And they go, well, we got almond or oat. And I go, okay, or coconut. And I go, okay, do you have soy milk? And they're like, no, we don't do soy milk. And it's like, oh, really? So way more healthy than a lot of those milks, because organic, I will want to stress, unsweetened organic, because let's be very sure about this, that if we go to a coffee shop such as Starbucks or many of those the well-known chain coffee shops, they will have their soy milk is sweetened and often not organic. So just be very careful. All that plant-based milks, but I know for a fact that the soy milk is not going to be organic, the ones that I've seen last time I checked, and it is pre-sweetened. So you don't want that. So let's talk about soy, and let's talk about the healthiest way to eat soy and how much. So, a serving a day or a couple of servings a day could be really beneficial. Not just for prevention, breast cancer prevention, but also for reducing symptoms of menopause. I have been through menopause. I'm now 56 years old, as many of you know, but I will say that my hot flashes were greatly diminished. I started having hot flashes quite early, actually. I want to say in my kind of late 40s. It's like, oh my gosh, what's that? And so it was, so I dialed up my soy consumption, and that really helped. And of course I was doing the other practices which really help with hot flashes, such as, eating no sugar and all the other things that you ladies learn to do in my community. Okay. Gum in your soy milk. That's a good question. I can't understand, Susan, exactly what the gum you're talking about is, but I will say this. If you're going to drink soy milk, go for soy milk that has 2 ingredients in it: organic soybeans and water. Okay, and this goes for any plant milk, but you don't need the additives in there. So there's a brand that I really like called, I always get the name wrong, but I think it's West Soy or West Bray. I think the brand is West Bray Natural. It comes in a blue box. It's a little more expensive than some of the other brands, but I really like it. The taste is really great. It comes unsweetened, or you can get vanilla unsweetened or regular unsweetened, but I just get unsweetened. It's organic, certified organic, and it has just 2 ingredients in it. So it has the organic soybeans and the water. Okay, so that would be your soy milk. And also remember, for those of you who are on a plant-based diet, which many women in my community are, it's very high in protein. So soy milk, unlike almond milk or certainly coconut milk and oat milk, it has much higher, significantly higher protein content. So that's nice to know, oh, I'm getting, quite a lot of protein in, whether you're adding it to your coffee, your tea, your oat milk, your chia pudding, whatever you're doing with it, okay? So that's one thing. Edamame beans are soybeans, obviously, and you can buy those organic in the frozen section of your store, in a shell or pre-shelled. Delicious. You can have those. You can sprinkle a little nutritional yeast on them. You can sprinkle a little low sodium tamari on them. Let's stay away from the salt. I know oftentimes people put sprinkle a ton of salt on them, and that's gonna, you don't want to dial up your sodium. So they're just delicious. And honestly, they're just delicious as is. Or you can squeeze some fresh lemon juice or lime juice on them. Oh, and a lot of people love chili. Little bit of chili on them to give them that little kick. Beautiful snack in the afternoon as well. Love my edamame beans. Shelf stable. Oh, Maureen, I think you're probably meaning the soy milk, I think. And I think you're relating to that. And the one that I recommended, yes, it is absolutely shelf stable. All right, so other things, other ways that you can have your soy is you can have miso paste, which is a fermented soybean, and you can add your miso paste to really so many dishes. So don't just think miso soup. You can add it to a stew, you can add it to a casserole, you can add it to many different soups that you make. In my community, in my coaching community, we have all sorts of oil-free dressings, and we have miso dressings. Miso is a lovely way of flavoring your food as well. So that's one way you can eat it. You can have tempeh, T-E-M-P-E-H. It actually, we realized in my coaching program, and I don't know, Carrie and Cheryl, if you found this because we do food prep classes, we do cooking classes and things, that when it was, so you couldn't find it. And for some reason, nobody could find it. And there was a real lack of supply of tempeh, but I think it's just coming back into the stores now. But it's basically fermented soybeans that are smushed together into a block. It's almost like a block of, I don't know how you describe it. Cheese is the wrong thing to say, but it's very easy to cook with once you know how. Otherwise, you're going to be like, what do I do with that? And so it's a really great food, and it's a great meat substitute, very high in protein. And then there's tofu. And tofu comes in many different forms. And in the terms of the most processed food out of all of these that I've mentioned, tofu would be the most processed out of all of them. But it's still okay once in a while to have your tofu. It comes in silken, firm, extra firm, and all the different forms that tofu comes in are good for different cooking purposes. Too much to go into right here. Make sure it's organic. There are some brands that do very high protein soy, interestingly, and sprouted a tofu. I think it's Wildwood, the brand that does a sprouted tofu. Maybe even Trader Joe's has that if you live in North America. So that's just to look out for. And some of these foods you've got to learn to cook with, but you were able to find it at Trader Joe's, Amy. Yay! Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Great. Amy, did you make the chili? Oh, you did make the chili. I saw you made the chili. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Amy is another graduate of my coaching program. Hey, Amy, it's so lovely to have you on. It really, really is. All right, so by the way, if you just happen to have hopped on, we are deep in the woods and we're going through nutrition for breast cancer prevention. We're almost out of October. As many of you know, this is the breast cancer prevention month, but I think every month should be breast cancer prevention month. Now, I know it's good to have a blast of awareness of let's go and do our checks or whatever you have, a sonogram or a mammogram or whatever it is. And it's important to have a month where this awareness is raised. But I also think let's not just focus on this for 1 month a year. Let's bring this nutrition and this lifestyle into every day of our life, because it matters and it's powerful, and the nutrition is really, really powerful. I know, Susan, Trader Joe's, I think everybody wishes they had Trader Joe's. I did a big, Karen's in as well. Oh my gosh, Karen. I've got so many of the graduates of my program in tonight. It's so lovely to see you ladies here. Oh my gosh, Karen, those potato chips, we were all talking about them today. We can't get over it. You're a genius. All right, so I digress. So I think so far, what we've got here, talking about, breast cancer prevention, we've got number 1, we did green tea, right? Looks brown, but this is a green jasmine tea. Number 2, we did soy, okay? All those different forms of soy. Number 3, let's go to fruits, right? So fruits are in crazy pants circles are maligned, like, hello, keto diet, you can't eat fruit in many of the keto and some of those diets, because anyway, not even going to go there. But, fruits, whole fruits, not fruit juice, but whole fruits are one of the 2 foods that are the greatest indicators of healthy longevity. Well, longevity is health for the most part, but I'm saying healthy longevity because we want to live into our 90s and be healthy, right? So fruit is very much part of that. Beans is one and fruit is the other. Those are the 2 foods that have been identified when we look at the epidemiology. So super interesting. So fruits, it doesn't have to be your high sugar fruits. You can go low sugar fruits, obviously blueberries, dark berries. Now, this time of year, because we're in November, cranberries. Buy your cranberries. Get them frozen, get them fresh. Don't just have them for Thanksgiving. They are, out of all the berries, all the fruits, they have the highest antioxidant value, cranberries. Not cranberries in a can, obviously not sweetened cranberries, but either frozen or fresh cranberries. So at this time of year, when I start seeing them coming into the store, I buy bags of them and I put them in my freezer, because it's a really good idea to start playing with ways that you can start incorporating them into your diet. You can put them in a smoothie. They are obviously bitter, if you buy them frozen. And so you could add a tiny little bit of monk fruit to take that little bitterness off. I make a sort of cranberry crush drink with, I think I've got a video somewhere, maybe on my website. On YouTube, I think it's on my website, a cranberry crush, which is, crushed up cranberries and mint, and you put in a little bit of a sort of monk fruit or something. So just think of different ways that you can really get your cranberries into your diet. I know the question is always, Sophie, is it healthy to have dried cranberries? In moderation. So some dried fruits confer health benefits. I prefer you have fresh, but if you absolutely can't have fresh, or you don't like them, you could have, but obviously make sure when you're purchasing your dried cranberries that they are unsweetened, because a lot of them are sweetened. They're unsweetened, and it's a nice that you can sprinkle them on a salad. You could sprinkle them in a little trail mix or whatever. So cranberries are great, but also think about your other berries. Think about your blueberries, your cherries, your blackberries. The darker the cherry, and those, if they don't go in your smoothie in the morning, maybe that's your dessert. Maybe that's your beautiful dessert at night. Maybe you make a little nice cream at night with a frozen banana and you blend it up with a ton of blackberries. Oh my gosh, blackberry nice cream is so delicious. Maybe you blend up a triple berry blend into your nice cream. Or maybe if you have your organic berries, you can just, pick on those. Maybe you put them on a quinoa porridge. Maybe you put them on your steel cut oatmeal or whatever. I know a lot of ladies in my community, we're all for our green smoothie. And then one thing I'll say with the berries is if you put them into a smoothie that is stuffed full of dark leafy greens, it's going to turn it gray. And I don't mind. I kind of get used to a gray color smoothie, but I do eat with my eyes. So I tend to choose, I want my bright, vibrant green smoothie, and then I'll have my berries at other times during the day. Let's talk about another fruit that's very important. 2 more fruits that I want to put in here tonight. So apples have been shown, actually specifically apple skin. the skin of apples has been shown to be have protective compounds for breast cancer. So eat your apples. We're in apple season now. Embrace apples. Do not peel them. I'm going to say that one more time. Do not peel them. So you buy them organic. Definitely apples need to be organic. Not everything needs to be organic. Apples for sure. If you can get them from your farmer's market. It's so funny. My daughter and I went to the farmer's market yesterday, and there was this little stall. It's a little farm that's kind of up in the hills, not far from here. Karen, you live in Los Angeles, so you have all the, so there's probably the same farmer's markets as I. And this guy, all he sells only what's in season, obviously. So he sells different nuts and dates, and in the summer he sells peaches and nectarines. I wonder if you know him, Karen. And they're Greek. They're two Greek brothers, and they own this farm, and then they sell apples. And it was funny because I was there with my daughter, and I saw these beautiful Fuji apples, and I said, oh, I definitely want to buy some of those. I love Fuji apples. And they were all sort of none of them were uniform. They were a little bit sort of odd looking. They had little imperfections on them and different sizes and everything. And I went, oh, I love these apples. Finally, we've got apples in season that are real apples, you know, because they taste so good. And it was so funny because my daughter said, and I thought she was going to say the opposite. I thought my daughter was going to go, oh, Mom, they've got imperfections. But she actually said, oh, Mom, I love apples like this. She said, you know, those ones in the store that are all uniform, lined up, and they look exactly the same, and they're shiny, they've all been shined up. She said they're creepy to me. She used that word, creepy. And I went, I know exactly what you mean. And not only do they look creepy, but they're tasteless. So look for where you can, if you can. I know not everybody has access, but if you can go to a farmer's market, or this time of year, I encourage you even to maybe get a farm box, like wherever you live. I have clients that live in different countries, England, Sweden, wherever. You can often find, you know, a local CSA or a farm box where they'll deliver. There's one here in America called Imperfect Produce. Amazing. And that is exactly what it is. They'll send you a box full of imperfect produce. You can decide whether you want the organic one or the conventional one, your choice. I'll have to tell you, Karen, because they are hilarious. Karen, I will have to. You make me laugh. Oh my gosh, Karen, we might need to do an apple picking trip together. I think that might have to be on the cards. Okay. Oh, ambrosia apples. Oh my gosh, how lovely. So apples, eat your apples, keep the skin on. Now, a couple of ideas here. You can pop your apple in your smoothie. So just chop it up, right? Just, you can take the little the pips and whatnot, but keep the skin on into the smoothie. It makes your smoothie beautiful, vibrant, alive. I like to put the really crispy. I like to get the Granny Smiths. We call them cooking apples in England because they're really tart. And I love to throw those apples in my smoothie to give it this little tart yumminess in a really, really green smoothie. And then obviously, you know, eat your apples any which way, but just that they're super, super healthy. Okay, what else have we got here? So we've done fruits. Now let's talk about another fruit here. So another fruit is a fruit called Indian gooseberry. You will not probably find Indian gooseberries in the farmer's market or the store, but you buy it as a powder. And it comes as a powder. My ladies who are in my coaching program know this particular food very well. It comes in a big bag. You can order it off Amazon. It's spelled A-M-L-A, Amala, Indian gooseberry. And you can pop half a teaspoon a day in your smoothie, good to go, or sprinkle it on something. It's a slightly bitter taste, so it goes well, disappears into a smoothie, and confers many other health benefits too, such as, you know, helping to bring down cholesterol. Oh, that's a great idea, Maureen. Wow, Maureen gave an idea of apples great with cranberries in a smoothie. Done. Wow, Maureen, that's a really good idea. It would be a lovely sort of beautiful ruby red smoothie, actually, I would imagine, wouldn't it? Beautiful. Okay, so amla powder, very important. Pop that into the recommendations tonight. Okay, greens, ladies, get your greens in. Dr. Gregor, my lovely friend Dr. Gregor, who we'll be having on soon. I'm hoping to be interviewing him soon again. So he says a pound of dark leafy greens a day. And, you know, my ladies who work with me, we get much of that into our smoothie, right? The only contraindication would be, Karen, if you happen to be on, would be kidney stones, if you have a history of kidney stones, if you've had a kidney stones. And you want to be careful. You can have greens, but you want to be careful with beet greens, chard, and spinach. Those are the three that you want to be really, really careful of if you have a history of kidney stones. But aside from that, you should be fine. Baby kale. Baby kale is my go-to. So you throw that in your smoothie. Collard greens as well. Who likes collard greens? Oh, gosh, I've just remembered. I found the most amazing recipe for collard greens at the end of the winter, and I'm going to pull that back up. I must do a little something on that, because I learned how to cook them in my Instant Pot, and they are so delicious. I'd never really liked collard greens until I found this particular recipe. And the reason I found it was because a very good friend of mine she grew this huge crop of collard greens on her roof garden and here in LA. And she said, I don't know what to do with them. You can have them all. And I was like, okay. And I didn't want them to go to waste. So I was like, I've really got to figure this out. And they last for quite a long time. She packed them all up for me. Oh, Bobby and Joe, if you're watching in Georgia, collard greens, I have to give you, I mean, you've got this down. You know how to cook your collard greens. But actually, it's in a way that it still retains all the nutrients, because there are some greens that actually release their nutrients when you cook them. How about that? Which is why I'm not a raw food girl, because some foods actually release, collards, green beans are another, need to be gently steamed, gently cooked in order to release some of their important nutrients. And anyway, so collard greens, delicious. You can put collard greens in your smoothie. A little bit of collard greens. You can get baby collard greens that you can put in your smoothie. There's so many, you can do collard green wraps even. So there's lots of different ways to use your collards. Yeah, so once I'm so glad I remember that tonight, actually. I will share that recipe. All right, so those are the main pieces. Those are the main little nutritional tips. And I'm going to give you a couple of lifestyle tips, and then we're going to go, because I have to be done in 10 minutes. So I just want to go over, we've done, really important. So we've done green tea, we've done soy, we've gone over the fruits, we've gone over the collard greens. Now let's talk about lignans, right? Lignans, 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 very, very important. Hey. My husband's just walked in, and my husband's here, and he probably doesn't know that I'm talking to his parents, because they're watching the live stream. They tune in every week. Anyway, so lignans you find lignans in flaxseed. And I'll make this really quick. Make sure you have your flaxseed. So flaxseed, ground flaxseed, is the easiest way to get your lignans into your diet every single day. So you want to start, ideally, to have a tablespoon of flaxseed a day. And if you can't do that, because some people, if you're very new to introducing fiber into your diet, you may want to start with 1 teaspoon. But flax contains, obviously, omega-3 fatty acids, but also these compounds called lignans that have found to be protective against breast cancer, all right? So lignans are really, really important. Okay, and Janet, yeah, okay, great. I'm doing the collard recipe, I promise you. Yeah, in your smoothie, oatmeal, and just make sure that it's ground, particularly if it's in your oatmeal, because if you just throw the whole seeds in, there are some juice bars here in LA, and it's like there's flax in it, and it's like, but they're whole seeds, and they're just going to go in one end and out the other. So it needs to be ground, unless you're putting it in your smoothie, and the smoothie's going to grind it up anyway. All right, so that's it. Those are the main recommendations. There are so many more, but I just wanted to hit those main points tonight. Also to say that honestly, the greatest favor that you can do for yourself in terms of disease prevention in general, but certainly as far as breast cancer prevention is concerned, is to be on a whole food plant-based diet. Exclusively a whole food plant-based diet. I could do a 2-hour live stream thing just on why and going into that and the science on that, but I'm just throwing it out there. You ladies that have worked with me for a long while know that we do this for many other reasons as well. So whole food, plant-based. Let's talk about just a quick. I'm just going to go over just a few more lifestyle pieces that I think are relevant to this discussion. Alcohol. All right. So you really do want to minimize your alcohol intake. This is crucially important, specifically when it comes to breast cancer prevention. So they found that even having 1 glass of wine a night can sort of increase your risk. When you get into anything more than 1 glass of wine a night or any kind of alcohol, then your risk is significantly goes up. I think it's to something like 40%. So in as much to say as, that in some cases where there is maybe a place for some red wine in your diet for some benefits that it can confer. If we're talking about breast cancer prevention, best practice as far as I'm concerned is just not to drink alcohol at all. So just throwing that piece out there. The sugar, I think that goes without saying, and the processed foods. But if you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, then you're not going to be eating those processed foods anyway. Okay. Stephanie. I'm going to just do some questions in a minute. Cheryl, that's a really good question. If you can, yes. If you can find them to be organic, find them to be organic. In a pinch, don't worry too much. They're not, as far as I know, on the dirty dozen list. Charles talking about cranberries, so don't worry too much about that. Now, because I do want to answer a couple of questions here, so I just want to quickly go through. We're totally changing topic here, super duper quickly. Shaving and deodorants, okay? Antiperspirant deodorants. Real quick, super simple. I would recommend not using an antiperspirant deodorant most of the time, right? Meaning an antiperspirant has aluminum salts in it, right? And if there are aluminum salts that plug up your sweat glands, that's what an antiperspirant deodorant does. So 90% of the time, my recommendation is just let yourself naturally detox and sweat. Now, in the instances, if you've got to be speaking on giving a presentation and you're wearing a silk blouse or whatever, then, once in a while you could use an antiperspirant, but make sure it is fragrance-free, absolutely fragrance-free in a pinch, all right? Now, the one little thing that I'm going to add to that is that if and when you are ever going to use an antiperspirant with aluminum salts in it, make sure you do not use it on a freshly shaved area, right? That's it. That's all you need to know. Do not. Because, again, all the studies have been done and a lot of research has been done on this, but, you're basically shaving off a layer of skin, right? And so that is going to enable it to get into your bloodstream and whatnot, in a way that you don't want it to. So if you are using an antiperspirant that has aluminum salts in it, do not use it on freshly shaved skin. Okay, what else have we got here? And then the other tips really are sort of obvious ones that I haven't got the time and the bandwidth to go into tonight, but it's things like, getting enough sleep is so important. Self-care, taking care of yourself, making sure that you get your 8 hours sleep a night by hook or by crook, because that's when your body heals, it regenerates, it detoxes. Making sure that you get tons and tons of fiber. If you're eating a whole food, plant-based diet, you will. Making sure you get a ton of exercise, exercising every single day if you can. Really, really important. Sedentary lifestyle is not going to help you. And then I think one piece, the final piece that I want to give you is stress and your sort of emotional, mental and spiritual health is paramount when it comes to disease prevention, obviously. Because when you are stressed and you're not managing and dealing with that stress, and you have those stress hormones flooding through your body, then everything is knocked off. Stress hormones flood through, and then cortisol rises, and everything sort of goes akimbo. Once in a while, your body can withstand that, but if that's a daily onslaught, hour after hour, day after day, then eventually your body's going to break down. And that's really what I drill into a lot, for you ladies know when you work with me in my coaching, because it's the most important piece. You've got to have all the other pieces in place, all these other very powerful dietary pieces. But if you are stressed, if you're running on empty, if you're unhappy, if you can't, you're stuck, something's just not feeling right in your life, you're living in perpetual anxiety or whatever it is. And this is something that I really invite you to, to address and put sort of top of the list. That's I've got to put myself first now and deal with that. And I know that that's a tall order and easier said than done when there's a lot going on, a lot of stress, the COVID, the this, the that, the other. But if not now, when? There's always going to be something. There's always going to be stresses. Women, most of my women are 40 and over, and life happens. And we have stress coming into our life. And some of us, it's crazy. And the women that I work with work crazy hours, and they have all kinds of stresses coming in. And that's when we really need to draw on that bank account. All right, so I'm going to take a couple of questions now. So just jump in. 5 minutes of quick fire questions. I will be looking out for your questions right this second. Hope, if you're still on, I wanted to answer your question that you asked right at the top here. So you asked about hair loss. And you're losing hair. So, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to look up, Google, or search, I should say, in the YouTube search bar, put Sophie Giuliano hair loss and Sophie Giuliano thick, healthy hair. And you'll get a ton of videos will come up. Also, make sure you're subscribed to my email list. And you go to sophiegiuliano.com and you sign up for a free sort of 5-day health and happiness little sort of email journey. And you'll get so much information, from me as time goes on about things like that. Because there are a lot of tips and there's a lot of help there. So I just wanted to make sure, you got that piece. All right, anybody else? The arrowroot essential oils. Arrowroot is fine. Yeah, arrowroot is okay. Be a little arrowroot. You're talking about arrowroot in a deodorant. Remember, there's a difference between a deodorant and an antiperspirant. Most of the natural ones are deodorants. They use either arrowroot or baking powder or clay or something like that. So they don't stop you sweating, but they stop the odor, because the odor is simply the bacteria that has just been sitting around for a while. That's where the odor comes from. So what that does, it helps to dry you and stops the bacteria from sort of multiplying, and often they have beautiful essential oils in them and whatnot. So yes, look at those. The one thing I would say is be a bit careful with baking soda, because some of them have baking soda in, and if you have sensitive skin, my daughter has very, very sensitive skin, and it does not do well with her. It's itchy, rashes. She cannot use those natural ones that have baking soda in. So if you have sensitive skin, be very, very careful about that. All right, I'm going to stick on my glasses and answer a few last minute questions here before we go. Question, how much miso do you use when cooking? Yes, it does contain a lot of sodium. You're absolutely right. But generally, you're using it, if you follow directions for like a miso soup, for instance, it will generally probably say about a tablespoon of miso, and in a soup for, 4 people. So if you're sort of breaking it down like that, it dissipates that sodium. So you should be okay with that. So let me just see what else there is. Loom. Oh, that's interesting. Loom, this is Janet, has been the only deodorant that I can use without any rashes. Wonderful and healthy, right? Everybody just take that into account. Janet, who's a wonderful member of my community, has said Loom, L-U-M-E. All right, Hope, you are so welcome. I'm glad you stayed on for that. Maureen, who is a breast cancer thriver of the next order, says that positive attitude goes a long way into cancer protection and reoccurrence. And you are so right. We are our beliefs. We are our beliefs. Our body becomes our beliefs and our thoughts. So yes, I'm absolutely with you on that one, Maureen. That is one of the biggest things that I teach. You ladies know in my coaching program. Can you get too much soy, Nan? Yeah, I mean, if you had sort of 8 servings of soy a day, you're probably overdoing it. I will also add that with the soy, a lot of women are worried about their thyroid. If you are taking, what am I trying to say here? If you are having some iodine in your diet, then that should take care of your thyroid. So you could start introducing some seaweed into your diet. Really easy to do. Just pop it in some soups, pop it in some casseroles. You can have a little seaweed salad. You can buy little flakes that you know, in place of salt, so that you sprinkle on your food, your salad or whatever. So, and you can even take a thyroid supplement if you want. So there's one I think called Iodorol, which you can get, which is, you know, a pretty strong one if you really want to make sure that you're getting enough iodine. Okay. Oh, Leah goes, routine deodorant. Only one I've been able to use. Ah, wow, Leah, I am going to look that up. So Leah goes, it's called Routine. I'm writing it down right now. I'm going to show my daughter that one because she literally had welts and rashes from using some of because as you know, ladies, a lot of you know, I test tons of products. And so some of them I say to my daughter, hey, do you want to test this? And then it's like, oh no, that wasn't a good one for her. All right. So I think we're on the hour now. So I have to kelp flakes, great, Serene, great. Kelp flakes are a really great way of getting those sea veggies into. Yeah. All right, ladies, I have to go. I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a wonderful week. And, oh, you're all giving great deodorant suggestions. This is amazing. So I hope this was helpful to you. So just take those little nutritional things, run with them, and just know that, you know, it's a beautiful thing that you can be empowered. You can take control of your health. You know, the women who have been on tonight, Amy, Kerry, Karen, Cheryl, have significantly changed their health. In, you know, not just nutrition, we do nutrition, but many other things we do in my program in such a significant and wonderful way. So just knowing that that's available to you, you know, you never have to get to a stage of your life where you think, this is it. I have to kind of accept this, either accept, you know, my weight or my health status or my mental state or my feeling of stuckness or whatever. You don't. There is a way out. And as I always say to everybody, you know, if not now, when, you know, there's never a better time actually to really sort of empower yourself and to do all that good stuff now. Mushrooms, really great. Yeah, mushrooms are wonderful for cancer prevention and in general and immunity. And by the way, if anyone lives in Los Angeles, thank you very much, James. If anyone lives in Los Angeles, I believe, and I hope I've got this right, because I haven't spoken to the producer recently, but I put it on my Instagram that I'm pretty sure at 7 p.m. tonight, there's a new show, and it's called LA Unscripted, and it's on Channel 5. And for those of you who don't live in Los Angeles or even live in other countries, I will be posting the clip on you know, Facebook and whatnot, so you'll get to see it. But in fact, my segment that I'm doing is all about boosting your immunity. And of course, now with the COVID cases rising again, we're getting this surge, and unfortunately in all these states. Okay, let's buckle up, because we really need to look at how we can boost our immunity. And so what I do in this segment is I show you how to boost your immunity at every single meal of the day. So if you can tune into that this evening, tune in. I've got to go set my recorder right now, actually, before I forget. And again, if you don't live in LA, you can't get KTLA Channel 5. Worry not, because I will be posting it. And I'm just going to see it. So, oh gosh, look at all this. We're getting so many incredible deodorant recommendations. All right, ladies, I will see you hopefully next week. Hopefully next week. I will post, you know, if I'm not going to be able to be on next week, I'll always post and let you know. But hopefully, if all goes well, I am going away for a little vacation towards the end of this week. I'm going to Sedona, going to the desert to do some spiritual, beautiful healing. I'll let you know, keep you tuned about whether or not I'll be on next week. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Janet, for putting that link in there. And I will see you soon. Bye.